Yes, it came up here. Okay. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. For he that is entered into his rest, he also has ceased from his own works, as God did from his. And he said unto them, Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place, and rest a while. For there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure, so much as to eat. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Truly my soul waiteth upon the Lord. From him cometh my salvation. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he has made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. For which we have believed do enter into rest. And he said, I have sworn in my wrath, for they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. Should I keep reading? What's the subject? Rest. There are 265 verses that have the word rest in them in the Bible. I'm not going to be reading every one of them. That would take us quite a while. 265, just the word rest. And I'm not sure how many other verses have the concept of rest in them. But we have the subject of rest. Rest. And I told several people this week what I'll be speaking on, because I felt like I was telling me what I was speaking on fairly early this time, which was handy. And I said, I'll plan on, the Lord willing, plan on speaking on rest. The vast majority of the people, now I told, it was just believers, so I told, the vast majority of the people that I told I was speaking on said, whew, something I don't know a lot about. Or whew, what is that? Or whew, I don't get any of that. Almost every time I got the same reaction. And I can do the same thing in my own life. See, we kind of come to America and we have this philosophy. See, I went to an ACE school, okay? And I remember Ralph Rice coming to our ACE. You remember that? Ralph Rice coming to our ACE school, teaching us this. Good, better, best. The best, never let it rest. Till your good is better and your better is best. And I remember him standing up there and he's like, you gotta do better. You gotta give your best. And there is a place for that. There is a place for doing better and giving your best. But quite frankly, here in the United States, it is constant. You never have completed enough. You have never done enough. It is never good enough. Ever. And it has been that way for a very long time. Come over to the United States, and well, it wasn't the United States back then. When Christopher Columbus discovered America, he's like, hey, India, that whole thing. Well, guess we're gonna have to make do. And all this work. And then all of a sudden they discovered gold in California. Everybody's like, yeah, let's go get the gold. The gold rush. We're gonna work. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get better and faster, and everything's gonna go amazing. And just rush. And our to-do list just keeps growing. I don't know how many of you have to-do lists. I probably a lot. Now, in our family, here's how we do it. Since our to-do list is forever changing, we each have little whiteboards on our refrigerator. It says Rose, Grace, Ben, Dad, okay? And these little whiteboards that Lorinda fills out. And she writes on these whiteboards the to-do list for each person for the day. Now, my to-do list, I don't think I've ever seen it empty. I have no idea what an empty to-do list looks like. It just doesn't ever get empty. But we constantly live in that, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to get it done. Just constant. And you know what we do to solve the problem of the to-do list and never being able to get enough accomplished? We go out to Walmart and we buy coffee. Now this is turbo brew coffee. 3 times the caffeine. That's what it says. I did not go to Walmart and buy this for this message. I just picked it out of our cupboard. I actually drank some this morning. That's what made me think of it. But we do this constantly. We got to get something else in us to get us motivated or whatever, to just that little extra kick in the pants just to keep us going, because we are exhausted. We are absolutely exhausted. Only in the United States, well, maybe other countries, but in my mind, only in the United States do we have a book like this. 5 minutes with Jesus. Quiet time for your soul. In 5 minutes. You can do it in just 5 minutes. Now, I have no idea. I've never read the book. I don't know. Maybe it's really, really good. But I'm like, wow, are we in that much of a hurry that we're rushing our quiet time to 5 minutes? Or maybe for some of us, 5 minutes would be a lot. I don't know. But I looked at the title and I'm like, whoo, we've got to change something, folks. I don't know. I forget how many millions of copies of this book were sold. It was a lot. That people are like, ooh, I can do this in 5 minutes. How do I get this in? And this is what we end up looking like. Exhausted, tired out. Just want to plug in and recharge. Or get a cup of turbo brew. And why don't we stop? Why don't we just stop and say, I'm going to take a break right now? Oh, there's a couple of reasons in my mind. One is anxiety. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. Okay? As a business owner and as a father, I know that feeling very well. If I don't do it, nobody's going to do it, so I have to get it done. It absolutely, I just have no choice. And it causes anxiety, okay? And you know what that is? It's a lack of trust. We'll talk about that after a little bit. Another one is our ego. I got this. I can do it. I don't need a break. I can handle this alone. If I wanted somebody else to do it, I would ask them to do it. I can do this by myself. Nobody tells me what to do. Not even God. You see, the idea of rest is not just a concept, it's not just a suggestion, it's actually a command. A command that we have completely ignored. A command that we know little about. A command that Satan has twisted so much that we feel guilty for obeying. I'm serious. In our culture and in our good work ethic or whatever it is, we look at rest as a bad thing or a sign of weakness. But that's not how it is. God has created us to need rest. Okay, children of Israel were wandering, they left Egypt and they crossed the Red Sea and they were wandering around in the desert and they're hungry. Okay, so what does God do? He gives them manna. Okay, they're supposed to go out and collect manna for the day, just for the day. Some of them were like, oh, we're workaholics, so we got to collect a couple of days worth of manna because I might not be here tomorrow. Okay, that's kind of our mindset. Okay, we're gonna do this, just yeah. And what happened to the manna? If they collected more than one day's worth of manna, what happened to it? It spoiled. It spoiled. But God said, on the Sabbath day, you're not going to collect manna. So the day before the Sabbath, you're supposed to collect extra manna. And on the Sabbath day, it did not spoil. And God said, you need a day of rest. From the very beginning of time, God instituted the day of rest. He worked 6 days. The seventh, he rested. Himself, he rested. As an example to us. And we're like, yeah, we take a day off on Sunday. I don't know if we actually do. Maybe it's easier for us men to take a day off on Sunday because we're like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. We go to church and we have some friends over and everything's good. I would encourage you men to ask your wives sometime, how's it feel? Are they getting a day of rest? We've invited so-and-so over. I have no problem with inviting people over, but then our wives feel like they have to have everything all cleaned up and everything looking nice and neat and tidy in the house and make a real nice fancy meal. And then work like crazy getting this meal ready and getting it out on the table and everything. And 3 o'clock rolls around, everybody's sitting down, our wives are doing dishes. Go to bed exhausted. Wake up Monday morning exhausted. Men, be careful. Sit down and have a candid, honest conversation with your wife and say, how can we do this together? Have a day of rest together. God instituted it that we would take 1 day a week and rest. A true day of rest. Now there is a ditch on the other side of the road where we're like, I'm going to become lazy. And I'm not going to do anything. Day of rest, going to sleep until noon, maybe get up and eat a bowl of cereal and go back to bed. Okay? we can be lazy and go the opposite direction. Oh, the government provides welfare? I don't need to work. If rest is so good, I will just spend the rest of the week resting. Okay? Then we can go the opposite direction now. I don't really believe that's our struggle. We have more the struggle of being too busy. Good old computers. All right. Some of us, God has been trying to teach rest to, and we're not listening very well. Not listening very well at all. What are some of the ways? We're going to look at some of the ways that we know that we're not listening very well and we're not doing such a good job at resting. Are we tired? It's pretty basic. Okay, I find that a fairly simple, basic concept. Are you tired? And if you say, yeah, I'm exhausted all the time, God's saying, and He already put it inside of us, you need a break. You need some rest. I think we spend like nearly 1/3 of our life just sleeping. Just sleeping. 1/3 of our life. And God has designed it like that. Are we avoiding solitude with God? I don't have time to spend alone with God. Are we avoiding it? Whether it's consciously or subconsciously avoiding it. You look at your life and you say, am I spending time alone with God? If your answer is, not real regular, God is telling you, you need rest. You need rest. And we're not listening to it. Are we having thoughts such as, maybe I'll just get hurt so that I have a good excuse to take a break? That is all too real for a lot of people. Gives you a good excuse to bow out for a little bit. Because nobody can look down on me if I'm hurt. Is God trying to tell us that we need a break, that we need rest, and we're just simply not listening? Rest is a deliberate act of faith. You know that? It's a deliberate act of faith. If we keep pushing like crazy and never stop, it's because, simply put, we don't trust God. We don't trust that God knows what's best for us. We don't trust that God will provide for us. And we don't trust that God says that we are enough because of Christ. Now, if that sounds harsh, it's probably because it is a little harsh. If we're busy working all the time, it is literally saying, God, you can't solve this problem, so I will. And that is a dangerous place to be in. We say, yes, we trust God, but we're just going to keep pushing. Every day of the week, just keep pushing and never actually set a time, those times of rest and those times of solitude with God. You see, God Himself scheduled in rest. He did. He's actually scheduled it in for you and for me. He scheduled it in. And if we don't deliberately schedule in rest, it won't happen. It simply won't happen. You know that? So that's one of the things in our family we started doing is we keep a calendar. And when people ask us, can we get together? Literally, we will oftentimes say, how about October? I'm dead serious about that. I'm dead serious. Because we have a very full schedule, and part of our full schedule is rest. And I've had people already say to me, well, can't we just get together this weekend? I say, nope, I'm going fishing this weekend. Oh, really? Well, is fishing really more important than us getting together? Yes, it is. Actually. And I love you, and I care about you, but I also care about rest, and I care about doing what God wants me to do, and I care about my family's rest. So important that we schedule that in. Hugely important. And when we do that, I believe it's an act of faith. It's an action, saying God has it in control, and God will provide. So rest as an act of faith. Then rest is also to remember redemption. When we are resting, it is a good thing and actually very appropriate that we remember what Christ has done for us as we are resting. Remember what God has done. Remember that we do not work for our salvation. That is part of the plan of rest. That I don't actually have to work for it. Not by works of righteousness that we have done. Don't have to work for it. And remember that God knows what we need and has it ready for us. We just need to stop so that we can receive it. Okay, Lynette, you have your baby Charlotte there, right? Okay. I'm only guessing. I cannot see on your bench or maybe back in the nursery, but I'm guessing there is a little bag, well, not so little, a bag with you about yay big. Okay, is that back there? Or is that in your bench? Okay, right there. Absolutely. Can you hold that bag up? Okay, that's, what is that bag called? What do we call it? A diaper bag. Okay, it's a diaper bag. I have never met a mother that has a young child that did not carry some form of a diaper bag with them. Now, did Charlotte pick all those items out that are in the diaper bag? No. Hi, Charlotte. She just looked at me like, hello. Are you sure I didn't? She did not pick out those items. Who picked out the items in the diaper bag? Lynette picked out the items in the diaper bag because Lynette knows what Charlotte is going to need before Charlotte needs it. You see this? And we look at God and we say, I don't know if he knows what I need. If a mother knows what a child needs before she needs it, how much more does God know what we need? Now a child, Charlotte has no choice but to just stop and receive. No choice. We've been given a choice to stop and to receive. That's part of rest. Stop and to receive. You know that rest is also a weapon? It is. Rest is a weapon against Satan's kingdom. It's possible to become so worn out emotionally and physically that the enemy can take us out. When we become so worn out emotionally and physically, just constantly push, it is a literal open door for Satan to come in and tempt us with something, and so many times we're like, fine. And we give in. And we're just out of our mind, upset and irritated and whatever it is. And it would never happen if we weren't exhausted. It is a weapon against Satan's kingdom. You see why Satan has twisted this to make us feel guilty about resting? He wants to keep us in a constant state of busyness. Busyness is a sickness of the soul. I really do believe that. Busyness is an illness. The constant, just can't stop, and then we feel guilty when we do. I believe it's a sickness of the soul. When we rest, we are saying, I trust you, God, to fight my battles for me. Again, it comes back to the trust and the faith. And when we say, God, you're going to fight my battles, and I trust you to fight my battles, I'm going to rest in you, Satan hates it. Satan hates it. We were on a guy's camping trip just this past weekend, and Merle Weaver was there. He was our revival meeting speaker here back in March. And we were talking a little bit, and we were talking about the issue of non-resistance just a little bit. And he's going on. He's like, you know what? He said, you know, we have this idea that we're not supposed to be, participating in wars and battles and stuff like that. And he said, I don't understand where this idea comes from. And he says, it's just absolutely ridiculous that we're not supposed to be participating when our country goes to war. And I was like, where's this guy going with this, type of thing. And he's like, we need to be participating because we have bigger and better weapons than they do. I said, amen. Because we kind of look at this and we say, they're shooting at each other. We can't do anything about it. We have bigger and better weapons because of God. And the power of God way outweighs the power of a nuclear weapon. I'm serious. But we just sit back and we do nothing. Or we say, the least I can do is pray. If we understood the power of prayer, we would say, I'm going to do everything I can do to stop this. And I'm going to pray and watch God work. But when we are so physically exhausted and emotionally exhausted, we give up and we just let it happen. And we constantly just work and work and work and work. One of the things that God really revealed to me this past week was the idea of obedience. And we've heard obedience, and we've preached obedience, and we've taught obedience, we understand obedience. But obedience without love is a false religion. Obedience without love is a false religion. And a lot of us are practicing a false religion, around the world anyway, practicing a false religion because we're just simply obeying. And if we can just keep in this cycle of just simply obeying all of God's commandments, keeping all of God's commandments so that God's pleased with us or whatever it is, but love isn't there, it's not based on the foundation of love, that is exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. The core of an effective believer is intimacy with the Father. Do you believe that? At the core of an effective believer is intimacy with the Father. That time with God where God communicates with us and we communicate with Him. That intimacy, knowing God, knowing His heart. And at the core of intimacy with the Father is solitude. Alone time with God. Do you see why it's under attack? Do you see why we get so busy? Because we become terribly ineffective in this world around us when we're busy. We might be effective at getting all kinds of money, getting all kinds of things, having all kinds of fun, but ineffective as a believer. Rest is a weapon. Rest is a weapon. And if there's anything that we can get out of the message today, it's this. That I want to give you permission to rest. I do. I want to give you permission to take a break and to say no. Some of us feel like we can't say no. Some of us feel like as soon as we're asked to do something, well, can't say no. We really have a hard time saying no. I was talking to Ben here, I don't know, week ago or something like that. And he's like, I don't understand. No is only 2 letters. Yes is 3 letters. It's way easier to type no. But a lot harder to say. It is. It's a lot harder to say no. And sometimes we just simply have to say no. Do you want to go here? Yes, but no. Do you want this free item? Yes, but no. I'm serious. And I want to give you permission to take a break and to rest and to say no. And that is important because there is nobody else in your life that is going to force you to take a break. It's not going to happen. That is up to you, up to me. And I feel like sometimes this is, especially a married couple, we're looking for permission from even our spouse sometimes. Is it okay if I take a break? Or for children from their parents. Is it okay if I take a break? And God instituted it, that it is okay, and it is actually a command to take a break. Don't ignore the command. Don't ignore it. Take a break and to rest. So let's try that. Let's try practicing that. And I don't have all the answers of what it's going to look like for everybody because it cannot look the same. It does not look the same for everybody. It really doesn't. Because, for one person going out, for me, okay, this afternoon I'm actually thinking about going out into the pine woods behind our house and stringing up a hammock, and just sleeping for the rest of the afternoon. That, to me, is rest. To some of you guys, you'd be like, forget that. I have no interest in doing that. I'd be sitting there worried about all the little creatures all around me all afternoon. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. So it's going to look differently for everybody. Some people love having people over for the afternoon and throwing a big party, and that's restful. And that's okay. But for some, it's not. Some, that's a lot of work. So to give each other that grace, saying, okay, that for you that's restful, and for you that's work, it's going to be different. For me, now I don't do it on a Sunday just simply because of what my neighbors, the neighbors around me. But for me, mowing the grass is one of the most restful, relaxing things I can do. I love mowing grass. I just do. We're always fighting over who's going to mow the grass at our house. I'm serious. We even have Lynette coming over and fighting over mowing the grass sometimes. It's just a very relaxing thing to do at our house. We have 3 acres of grass to mow, and I don't think it ever gets very tall because everybody's always fighting over mowing it. We bought a brand new mower last year, and the crazy thing has almost, 3 years worth of hours on it already. It gets used a lot. So in other words, but for some other people, mowing the grass, that's the worst thing in the world. Oh, I have to get out and mow the grass. It's not restful. So I would encourage you guys, find out what's restful to you and do it. And do it. And part of that rest is worship. When we're resting, it's worship for God. Let's pray.